Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And we've done two of the Summer Splash Festival stages. It's now time to do the third one, which is probably going to be a bit rough for a lot of players, because we've been in EX and EX Unbound metas since 2023. I don't know a lot of newer players are going to have a lot of old 5-star characters available to them. But this stage is also the least amount of HP. So if we look at the stage, it's a starting hand of four blue and 2 greens. The only limit is that you cannot bring any initial EX characters. So you can't bring Warrior's Mind Blanc or Visions of Coleus Lumi, but you can bring Fire Violet, or who's another character that got it? Earth Trainee. Even though if they are 120, they got EX on Awakenings, right? But they didn't start as EX characters. That's the only thing. So the only thing is that you could not use any recent EX units, but you can use old ones. You can use free-to-play characters all you want, and that includes the Protection character. Apart from that, there are missions. Clear it 3 times, clear it with 5 people alive, beat it with 1 free-to-play character, and at least 2 initial 4-star characters, so old free-to-play units. Well, we'll see how that goes. Milim herself, 2.6 million HP, yeah, that's enough, but if we're using old characters that happen to have their EX alts, that's going to be not as difficult. And I think the only thing you can't do is... yeah, well, I mean, you can't Reckoning or Vengeance. Yeah, she's got a barrier, so it's going to stop Reckoning and Vengeance. You could use the free-to-play ones, but other than that, you can use any color orb, and you can use any kind of buff. Yeah. So, there you go. I mean, we can definitely build a team to do it, and obviously, since she's fire, they want us to use, the old, super old water team. And that's kind of what the theme is, that the first stage was meant for the current summer meta, the second stage was meant for the 2-year-old summer meta, and this one is meant for the old Water 2.0 team, which was our first summer meta. So they're following a theme. Alright, old water team with 1 free-to-play character. Not 2, but 1, because this team just can't do it. Watermelon, very old blue stacking protection character, gives you a 40-point skill cap increase when you use her, 10% water attack, and the blues get the 100 to 500% skill point gain like all blue protectors do. Free-to-play Water Rimuru, Shion, Shuna, Hinata. Shion is skill fused, Hinata is skill fused. Keep that in mind. Also bringing Light Raphael, which is kind of necessary, but not for the full kit of Raphael, because the only thing we're using from Raphael is the ult resistance down. Because Milim has so much pierce resistance, it's kind of not worth giving people pierce. So what needs to happen is that when you nuke, your ideally Hinata and Shuna should be in the back. That way they don't get the pierce rate, and you can only have the ult resistance down actually be used by Hinata and Shuna, who are going to be your 2 single-target nuking characters. And this is not an easy fight. Again, my Hinata's 120, they have no EX Unbound upgrades for water characters, or at least good water characters. Actually, you know what? While we watch this, I'm going to go check that. I don't think they have any, which is kind of odd that they wouldn't unbound some old water characters from the very first summer meta. I don't know. That was a decision. But you are banking on having your 3 orb changers, 2 orb changers with 1 with 2 skills. So Shuna can change oranges, and Rimuru can change greens and his own orbs. So if you want to, you can kind of manipulate it to where Rimuru can just self-convert turn 1 by putting him in slot 3, or you just use his green orb change. It really doesn't matter. But you really need to bank on being able to convert every single hand with those 2 characters only. And it is going to be pretty expensive. And since my Hinata is skill fused, the second skill for Hinata is stacking permanent ult damage, which goes up to 60% no matter what. But if she's skill fused, it's much faster. You only have to use it like 4 times instead of like 8 or something. It's like 5% or something if she's not skill fused per stack. If she's skill fused, it's 15. So it is a lot easier. Do I recommend you skill fuse her for this just to get this done? No, because you can just do it with a different team and it's a lot easier, quite honestly. So I want to do this because we are trying to fit into the summer theme, and so I forced myself to use this. It took a while. It took all night, actually. I'm recording this the day after because I was so burned out from trying to run this stupid team and figuring out what team could actually do 2.6 million damage in 8 turns. And unfortunately, even though this is a summer theme, the mono element teams from the beginning of the game, they did not get some kind of magical damage boost against their element, their type advantage. They were just type advantage, and that's it. And so, while you would think that having 2 single target nukers here, this team came out in 2022. Like, we were not doing 2.6 million damage in 2022. We did 2.6 million damage when EX metas became a thing with Fount of Wisdom. And this is about 6 months early. So we did not... This team was not doing 2.6 million damage, even if you double nuked. And what we have to do here is we actually have to quad nuke. So what needs to happen is break the barrier on turn 7. Unfortunately, we couldn't get all 5 orbs here because the orb changes didn't work out. But now we've got Shuna and Hinata in the back, so we'll use Raphael's first skill to put the ult resistance down, which means that Shuna and Hinata don't have that pierce rate because you can see the pierce resistance buff on Milim. So they're good. And now we have all 3 characters up front. We do need to send 1 more orb to break Milim's shield, which does give her a permanent crit resistance debuff, which is good because this team is a crit focused team. And we've got a full hand, and we've got all the buffs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So break the barrier. Xion does 70k, 672, 1 million damage. Alright. It's not enough to kill. It's not enough to kill. When Water 2.0 came out, Light Raphael didn't exist, so we did not have ult resistance down at that point in time, when Water 2.0 in July or August of 2022. Wasn't a thing. So, we have to continue. So we need to get another Hinata ult. So this is where your major RNG is going to come into play, is attempting to get another Hinata ult by turn 10, because that's like the other mission threshold, is beat it in 8 turns, beat it in 10 turns. This is turn 10. We have Hinata ult. We have enough points to reapply most everything here, minus the ult resistance down from Raphael, because Hinata's already up front. But since we don't have that much HP left, we can just go ahead and nuke, and Hinata does 794, which is enough to kill. So that is the turn 10 Water 2.0 team plus Raphael, but you can see that we are missing the 8-turn mission. Get used to that if you're going to use a traditional stacking team, because it's not going to work. But this is, the the first summer-themed meta, so we held true. Now let's move on. Alright, the next team that we're going to attempt to use is the Dark 2.0-ish team, the first anniversary team. Dark Veldora, Free-to-Play Isis, and Dark Milim. And then we've brought my skill-fused Masked Hero and skill-fused Space Rimuru. Very important that they're skill-fused for this. And then we also have Free-to-Play Alphen from the Tails collab, because he's got that massive 200% ult damage buff. It's only for him, which means that Milim's ult damage buff is only affecting her, and it's not 200%, it's 70. But we still have a secondary DPS character in Milim, which is better than nothing, because we're going to need it. But Rimuru and the hero are skill-fused, extra crit resistance down. Rimuru has an attack buff for 40%, and then 40% ult resistance down. So remember how we used Raphael last time? Well, we're using Rimuru this time. And this is another turn 10 quad nuke team. First team, we had to nuke with all 3 water characters and then Hinata again 2 turns later. We're going to do the same thing here, where we're going to nuke with Alphen and Milim, and then we're going to get Alphen and Milim again on turn 10. But because this is a green team, and we have the power of Isis to buff the greens, this is a lot easier to get ults. And Alphen can convert his own alt orb to orange, but we're not running an orange team, so that's kind of like a oh well. We only have 2 orb changers though, and Milim is skill fused as well. Like, Milim is double skill fused. I forgot to mention that. There's a lot of skill fusions on this team, so it's not, again, very viable for a lot of people. But Milim's alt buff skill fusion gives all dark allies a 25% dark attack buff, and then her skill or her conversion becomes any color orbs, not just like one orange and one blue. It becomes just any 2 colors can get turned to green, which is how we were able to convert that last turn's 2 oranges. So keep that in mind. Again, I don't recommend you skill fuse these characters because the next 2 teams I'm going to show you are much easier, and you don't really have to think about them. They are huffing glue, that's why. But here we will convert, and then we can swap out Isis. And I make the mistake here. I have an Alphen orb, and I kind of forget, because I was like, oh no, I'll just convert Alphen's orb to orange, and then we'll convert with Milim, forgetting that Alphen has a second orb back here. So, oh well. It is what it is. We only sent 5 orbs. Not a big deal, because this is a green stacking team, and it's not nearly as constrained as a blue stacking team would be, where you don't get a lot of points unless they're blues. So we have a barrier. We're just going to send these 4 orbs into it just to lower it down. We are technically running another crit focused team, so breaking the barrier is good for us because of that permanent crit resistance debuff, which will stack on top of the debuff that the hero is giving. But we need to get the Milim and the Alphen alts on turn 8. But we can safely nuke with all the buffs activated, because there's no one giving Pierce here. It is just alts and attacks and crits and attack buffs and alt resistance down. So we're looking good. It's just that my Milim is kind of low on HP, and I would prefer her not to get hit anymore. The bind misses Isis, but the stun does not. So we can't use her orb change here, which is, again, kind of unfortunate. So we could use Milim's convert if I want to leave her up front, which I do, and just pray that we don't get hit. But we do have to, again, break the barrier with 2 orbs. Thankfully, she does not get hit. And now we're looking ready to go. So we'll bring Alphen in for Isis, and then we'll use Rimuru's buff, give them both the attack buff. Milim technically gets an attack buff already, but we're going to get a bigger one with Rimuru. Alphen does not get an attack buff at all off his skills. So now we will rewind, we'll use the crit, we'll use the alt buff, and we'll use Alphen's personal 200% alt buff, plus the Veldora's 70% magic buff, and then we'll nuke and break the barrier first. So 1-2, barrier broken. Milim's orb does 63k, Milim's alt does 438, Alphen does 652, and obviously that is not enough to kill. So we've got the rewind, we'll send the 4 Alphen orbs again, which just gets us very close to another alt for him, and now we have to do it again. Thankfully, we have a good orb hand right here, so we can take the hero out. They are not buffed, so we have to bring Isis in and use her green buff skill. But this means that we can probably get the Milim and Alphen alts here. Milim, I mean, she's kind of low. This is very danger zone right here, because if she gets hit twice, she's dead. But we get very, very lucky, and she hits, I think, Alphen. Yeah, okay. So he's now very low as well. And remember that Alphen's alt does reduce his health by 20%. It won't kill him, but it will take him down to 1 HP. And then he will die if he gets touched. But now it's turn 10, we'll reuse the crit buff, we'll bring Space Rimuru in, we'll use his buff, and we can actually alt with him. So 1, 2, 3, we have to reset with Veldora to use Rimuru's buff because it's too expensive. But this means that we will have everything active now, and we have 3 alts. So that, I mean, Rimuru doesn't do a lot of damage, but it is what it is. And then we have a full hand, Sen, which we're going to need. So, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm trying to debate who would do more damage. 16k, terrible. 588, we Aegis there, which is cool. 654, and then the 200% orb is what we killed with. So, Dark with free-to-play Alphen, that is 2 free-to-play characters with Isis and Alphen. That is within 10 turns, and nobody died. So that is another way to clear it. But remember, we have 1, 2, 3 skill-fused characters here that may not be super convenient for a lot of people. Alright, the much easier way to do this is just to Huff Glue. So we've got the free-to-play Reckoning team. Free-to-play Carrion with the AoE heal charm. We've got the free-to-play Shizu. If you don't have her, don't worry. I've got another clip without Shizu, because you can get Carrion from the flashback shop. You can't get Shizu, unfortunately. But you can still do it without her. So I've got another clip after this video, don't worry. But we've got a butt ton of free-to-play characters. 4 of them. Eren, Traya, Isis, and Shizu. The only not summonable, or not free-to-play character here is Wind Lumi, because she's orb changing and she's healing, which is kind of what this team wants. So if you've not used Reckoning before, you've never heard of the Reckoning team, except for when I say it and it's stupid, you'll find out why very quickly. Because this team only requires a couple things, and that is orb changing and healing. Like, that's it. Because you use Carrion, he'll give you a healing field, and every time you get healed, you will stack a green buff on yourself. And after turn 5, that green buff translates to big damage to the enemy. Now, Milim does have barriers, which does block some Reckoning damage. But if you go to turn 8, she will die. She doesn't put barriers on for those turns, and she will take damage in between them, and so you need to go to, like, the end of turn 8, because she doesn't reapply a barrier. But turn 7 she does, turn 5 she does. So there are 2 turns where she has barriers and 2 turns without it, and you're banking on those 2 turns to get the job done. But here, we will orb change, we will orb change again, we will apply the 2 Reckoning stacks by using Shizu's skill, we will use Carrion, the AoE heal charm kicks in afterwards, so that automatically gives us 2 stacks of Reckoning on every character, and then we can use Wind Lumi's heal to give us more healing. And every time you heal, you get Reckoning stacks, or every time you use Shizu's skills. Those are the only ways you get it, apart from using Protector Carrion, if he has an AoE heal charm, or just any heal charm in general. The AoE heal charm is better because he's hitting everybody with a heal, and that's 6 stacks versus the single target heal charm, which is 2 stacks. So if you have one of those, I would use that. But it requires very little thought. Like, you just need green orbs, and just use Carrion over and over. Make sure your green orbs are buffed by Isis at all times. Heal when you can after you use Carrion, not before, but after you use the Carrion skill, because otherwise it doesn't give you anything. But we're on turn 4, we have one more turn to apply, but tragically, she wipes away our Reckoning stacks on turn 5. At the end of turn 5, before it actually damages her. Which is, I mean, I get it. You would have just outright probably killed her right now if she didn't do that. It's just artificial difficulty that makes you go to turn 8. So we broke the barrier, alright, cool. We take the hits, we've got 18 stacks per person, but they're gone, she heals, and there's nothing to hit. So, my bad, I might have said she puts barriers on turn 5. She didn't, but she just wipes away all your stacks. So you have to start reapplying them as quickly as possible. So, apply Carrion, apply the heal, apply the 2 Shizu skills. We get as much as we can. We could use Carrion again here, if you wanted, and we can get more Reckoning stacks, and that will actually damage her here. So we'll watch, and she'll hit us. Okay, cool. And barrier. Unfortunate. We have to break the barrier. 6 shots. Alright. But at the end of turn 7, we will damage her. And at this point, we just have to continue to get more Reckoning stacks. More and more and more. It is never enough. So, Shizu skills. Cool, cool. Yep, gotta heal. That's it. Our 2 units in the backline have literally not done jack shit. So, keep that in mind. You could put whoever you want back there. You want to bring another healer for more healing, for more Reckoning stacks? Certainly do that. That's what we're going to do next clip. But 1.4 million damage right there from the Reckoning, and then we just need to do it again on turn 8, and then she will die. She does not apply a barrier here. She does not remove your Reckoning stacks. So, honestly, we could do nothing but send 1 orb, and she would still die. Because the Reckoning already does so much damage. She doesn't have that much left over. But we're going to do it fully just to play the game, right? And, yeah, this is your turn 8 kill with multiple free-to-play characters, and everyone is alive. So, this is much easier to do. And, again, if you don't have Shizu, stay tuned. 2 million damage right there. Turn 8, look at that shit. Huff Glue, that's what you're going to need to do. There's our turn 8 clear mission. And, we'll be right back. Okay, in the event that you did not play during the actual Reckoning meta, and you do not have access to the Fire Shizu with the Reckoning skills, you can still get around it. Because you can still get Carrion out of the flashback shop, and you could still put an AoE heal charm on him, and then you just bring a butt ton of healing characters, and you can still do it. So we've got Murin, who's got the 3-turn passive heal. We've got Lumi again for her heal. We've got Water Rimuru for a water character, an ult denier, and a healer. So he works. You could also bring Earth Trainee or Octogram Romorus if you want to bring a different kind of healer, or if you don't have Murin or something, or you don't have Rimuru, that's certainly an option, or Lumi at that point. You still have Orb Changing with Isis plus the green buff. You still have Trya for her massive abilities to Orb Change. She is a huge asset to any green team. We're going to go Hyperspeed on this one because it is just the same exact strategy as the last clip with just different characters. And since we know that she wipes away our Reckoning on turn 5 and she has the barriers up, really, you don't need to worry about trying to do too much until turn 6. Because that's when you can reapply Reckoning, and that's when it actually matters. So for the first couple of turns, you're just kind of big chilling. If you want to just get up to a double Carrion or something and build up to max points and just keep yourself alive for 5 turns, that's certainly something you can do. Like, you don't have to worry that much. You can use Water Rimuru to deny all of her ults if you want. That way you never take an ult from Milim. It's certainly an option, especially if he's skill fused. It's a lot cheaper. I think it's like 40 points if you unskill fuse him. Or if he's not fused, but 15 if he is, or 25. Yeah, 25 points. Either way, we're not really doing anything until turn 6 that actually matters for us winning. So break the barrier. We're not a crit team. That doesn't matter. Lumi is pretty hurt because she apparently is hated this time. Was not happy with her usefulness with the last team. So turn 4, we've got a whole bunch of orbs here. All right, we'll use Carrion. Fine, why not? We will orb chain. Actually, we'll not orb chain. We'll just send these because it still doesn't matter. Hit. All right, this is turn 5. This is where our Reckoning stacks are going to get wiped out regardless. So we don't need to do anything yet. We could alt deny if you wanted. Certainly an option. I was trying to figure out who to bring in and bring out. But let's orb change. Let's Carrion and reset everybody, and then we'll orb change again. Cool. We'll bring Water Rimuru in, and then we will orb change with Trya. We will green buff, and we will alt deny. Boom. No alt for you. We'll break the barrier, and now is when you start just spamming heals with Carrion activated. So we've got 3 different healing characters. Use them all after you use Carrion's skill. So orb change. Okay, cool. We'll bring Wind Lumi in for Trya. Cool. And then we'll bring Murin in for... Or sorry, we'll bring Lumi in for Isis. We'll bring Murin in for Trya. And we'll do the 3-turn heal. Carrion. And then we'll use the 2 healing skills from Lumi and Rimuru. And another alt deny. Boom, boom, boom. And the orb change. So we healed 3 different times. And the passive heal from Murin will take effect at the end of the turn before the Reckoning kicks in. So that is just another way to heal. And it lasts for multiple turns. So you get a lot of healing out of that one skill. There's the Reckoning. It hit the barrier. Not a big deal. We need to keep doing that, though. We need to keep applying the heals as much as possible. But we also do need to orb change. So we'll bring Isis in. We'll use Carrion. We'll use the orb change. We'll use the healing and the alt deny another time. So now we're up to 12 stacks, 14 stacks of Vengeance or Reckoning on Rimuru and Lumi. Isis doesn't have as many because she was in the back. But turn 7, the Reckoning does 1.9 million damage. And then again on turn 8, we can do the same thing. So you don't need the free-to-play Shizu to do it. You can still get it done if you just force a butt ton of healing skills onto your team and just make it count after turn 5. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, cool. We take the hits, and Reckoning does 1.9 million damage, and then you're done. So still on turn 8, with a very different kind of team build setup here, more focusing on healing than the Shizu team that we did earlier. Still very much capable of doing it. Everyone was alive. We still didn't have 3 water characters. Or, well, actually, that's not a thing. We did have 2 free-to-play characters here, Isis and Traya. So we got that mission done within 8 turns, and everyone is alive. So if you can do one of the 2 Reckoning teams, just do that. It'll complete all the missions. You don't have to rip your hair out trying to do a stacking team. This works fine. And I highly doubt it, but if you have any other teams that worked for this that was not Reckoning, or a version of Reckoning, please let me know in the comments, and I'll attempt it if I have the patience for it. But that's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.